this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
And welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your host for today, Tyrone Poole, two-time Super Bowl champion and American Ninja Warrior. Now remember, the Sports Circus is the only place where we can make you smile and occasionally make you cry of laughter. So today we have a great show, but first we want to give an enormous welcome to all of those watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Amp TV, Hotel TV, those watching on sportscircus.com, and we also can't forget those who are listening, those on Magic 97.9 in Las Vegas, CBS Sports in Honolulu, NBC, NBC News, and CNBC Financial, Sports, CBS Sports, KCAA Southern California, CBS Sports in Corpus Christi, KSIX, and can't forget here in Magic Atlanta, Metro Atlanta. They call it Magic City. Used to call it Magic City. I never went to Magic City, but hey, welcome WDJY in Metro Atlanta, Talk 1490, WIRB, Southern Alabama, the Florida Panhandles, and we can't forget where I used to play up in Boston, WBNW, covering all of the greater Boston. Now, again, this Sports Circus, we have so many guests that come on here. It's unbelievable. You never know who you're going to walk into, who you're going to hear, who you're going to see. But today, we have a very, very special guest. Now, we've all heard of two-sport athletes playing football, playing baseball. We've heard of Bo Jackson, the great Bo Jackson. We've heard of Deion Sanders, Tim Tebow. We've even heard of Patrick Mahomes. Remember now, he played baseball as well. He's a great quarterback. But today, out of all those two-sport athletes, I have the honor to welcome to the Sports Circus a two-sport athlete here in Atlanta. I call him my homeboy, Brian Jordan. So let's all give Brian Jordan a round of applause to the Sports Circus. Brian, how you doing, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Tyrone, man. Good to be on the show, man.
Oh man, it's an honor to have you here, Brian. I just want to say, again, it's an honor to have you here, man. Getting right into it. You're born in Baltimore, Maryland. Okay, you were a student athlete at Milford Hill High School. Okay, you went on to the University of Richmond where you graduated. Fast forward, now you get into your professional career. You get drafted baseball by the St. Louis Cardinals. First round. And then that following year, which was 88, you were drafted in baseball by the St. Louis Cardinals. 89, you get drafted by the Buffalo Bills, which you ended up coming here to Atlanta. So we want to know if you could tell everybody here in Atlanta, what was that like being or shuffling a two-sport professional career?
Well, it all started back in high school for me. I always promote multi-sports, and basketball was actually my favorite sport, but I knew 6 foot forward would not make it to the NBA. So I stuck with baseball and football going into college. And, growing up in Baltimore, University of Maryland was probably my top pick. Growing up as a kid, that was my dream school. And I remember ready to sign the dotted line. Bobby Ross was the head coach. They recruited me. They said I could play both. And just as I'm ready to sign the dotted line, Bobby Ross told me I had to skip baseball my freshman year. And I looked back at my parents and I said, well, this is not the place for me. And I decided to go to the University of Richmond, where they would let me do whatever I wanted to do, play football, baseball as a freshman and, try to reach my dreams and goals in life. And, it was a tough decision. One of the most important decisions in my life, but it really worked out well. Like you said, I got drafted first round my junior year by the St. Louis Cardinals, which was another tough decision in my life. I signed on the condition that I could, one, finish school, graduate, but also play my redshirt junior year and see what happens in the NFL draft. Well, played a summer baseball, 30 games, went back to campus and had a really good redshirt junior year for Richmond and invited to the Senior Bowl. They had me projected as a third-round pick coming out of Richmond. But after that week of practice in the Senior Bowl, I was supposed to be the first or second safety taken, me or Atwater. And unfortunately for me, in that first quarter of the game, I break my leg and dislocate my ankle all in the same play. So, I had to take a different route. I was really surprised Buffalo still drafted me after that injury. I had plates and screws put in. And in 3 months, I was running full speed ahead. Nobody expected me to be back for training camp. I made it back, led all defensive backs for Buffalo in tackles in camp. But I was I tell everybody, I was a 46-man on a 45-man roster back then. And another unfortunate situation, first time I've ever been cut in my life from anything. But Buffalo really wanted me to stay on injured reserve for the year. But after, leading the team in tackles in training camp, I said, look, release me. If I don't get picked up, I'll come back. But, before I even made it halfway home, I got the call from at my agent, and he told me Atlanta Falcons wanted me. And next thing you know, I'm united with Deion Sanders down in Atlanta. And, it was a great time.
Now, during your time here in Atlanta, was the coach Jerry Glanville, was that the guy?
Yeah, when I first got to Atlanta, it was Marion Campbell. It was his last season.
Okay.
And when I got here, after working out in Buffalo with Bruce Smith, Cornelius Bennett, and all those great players, to come to Atlanta, I knew exactly why they were in last place because it was a big difference, man. It was like Deion Sanders and everybody else. And, just have that opportunity, to finally get a start. They put me on injured reserve for the first 6 weeks. I didn't come off injured reserve until the 12th game of the season, and I started ever since down in Atlanta.
Now, when you are 125 years old, you're in your rocking chair, you got the family around, you got all your friends around. What are some moments, again, you've been a two-sport athlete, what are some moments that you would share with everyone, your greatest moments? Tell us some stories about football. First start with football, then baseball. What are some of the greatest moments when you sit in that rocking chair?
Well, for football, actually playing for Glanville was just a treat. And, to start out with them with Marion Campbell, where we were just a bad team, and to see Glanville come in, and my third season, I was altered in the Pro Bowl, us make it to the playoffs. And we really had a good shot. We lost to the Redskins. They went on to win the Super Bowl. But, to kind of turn that system around and watch them grow, and I would definitely brag about that, blocking a field goal to win the game against the Saints to get to that next round is truly a memory of mine in football that I'll never forget. And as far as baseball is concerned, 99 World Series with the Braves, just making it. We lost to the Yankees, but, that's what you play for, to get to that ultimate moment. You know about that with 2 Super Bowl rings. But, just to get there and, not actually win it, but just to feel the emotions, feel the high of playing in that ultimate game, something I'll never forget.
Yeah. And again, for all those just tuning in, we have, I consider, one of the top two-sport athletes that I know, Brian Jordan, as a guest here on the Sports Circus. Now, Brian, going back to football again. Now, when you come to Atlanta, and like you said, Deion, and when I came into the league, I really didn't have anybody to kind of spark or someone who I could look up to or just the energy, because when I came in Carolina, of course, they were a new team, and pretty much everybody didn't know whether or not they were going to make the team. Only the draftees and those who were really good knew that they were going to make the team. But when you come into Atlanta, and of course, you get up under Jerry Glanville, and you hear a lot of players say, this coach is a player's coach. He's a player's coach. Yeah. He let you go out there and have fun. Man, was Jerry Glanville like that? And also, just what was the atmosphere of the Falcons? Because when I put on that film, I look at you guys, it's like you guys just out there having fun, man, having fun.
And that's what it was about, man. Glanville brought that attitude, you know, hey, as long as you play hard, we're going to have some fun. And I'm going to make it fun. And, you know, like you said, he's a player's coach, man. You really enjoy it. He will get on your case if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. But, you know, he made the team better, man. He made us compete every single day in practice, which was, you know, totally new from the Marion Campbell era when I first came in. I mean, I looked at that team and I was like, man, these guys are not competing at all. And then when Dion, you know, came to the team, man, Dion, he led by example. I don't care what anybody say, you know, about his flamboyant ways or whatever, man. This guy was a player, man. He knew the game, and he was a guy that, you know, we had a lot in common playing two sports, but our competitive nature, too, we had in common. And so he kind of changed the attitude of the players, defensive backs against receivers, man. It was fights every single day. But, you know, we kind of built that attitude that was missing in Atlanta. And Glanville just, wow, he ran with it, man. And everybody enjoyed him. And he made it fun for everybody. And that's when you make it fun, you compete as a family, good things happen.
Yeah. Well, I tell you one thing, I'm growing up here in Georgia. I was glad to see Atlanta get rid of those red jerseys, man, that red helmet. I'm like, you know, they brought in those black jerseys, look a little bit more meaner. But you know what? We're going to come back with more Sports Circus. We got two sport athlete great Brian Jordan. We're going to dive into some baseball, his great moments in baseball. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back with more Sports Circus.
Do you have any questions about legal issues? Have you ever been stopped by a police officer and issued a ticket that you're scared to deal with? Have you ever been in trouble with the law and don't know what to do? Do you have a will or power of attorney question? Is your home being foreclosed upon and you don't know where to turn? Maybe you were given a contract that you don't understand. For freedom and a worry-free solution, call for Legal Shield today at 213-245-1305. It's that simple. You will have access to high-quality law firms that will fight for you for less than $1 a day. Peace of mind is just a call away. That's for Legal Shield. Call 213-245-1305 or visit us at nocourt.us. It's justice for all and not justice for some. Are you a small business owner or pursuing the dream of starting your own company? Do you know where to start or how to grow that existing business? The American Business Trust Company has the answers you need. The American Business Trust Company can help you with startup capital, business strategy, sales and marketing, and establishing your company with a physical location or on the internet. You decide. You bring the idea. The American Business Trust Company can help with the rest. For a free evaluation, you may visit them online at abtrustco.com. That's ABTRUSTCO.com or call them at 657-600-1876. That's the American Business Trust Company, 657-600-1876. Call them today. They can help your business right away.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
This is Sal Tuzzolino, host and ringmaster of the Sports Circus. Why listen to the same old dog and pony show that you've heard all day long? The Sports Circus covers everything that other shows don't or are too scared to cover. There's no primetime show like it out here that'll punch you in the mouth and you'll beg for more. You can call in and participate with our chaos if you dare. Join me and celebrity guests for Havoc and Mayhem weekdays at 5 p.m. Pacific here on AMP TV or stream the show live at thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
You're watching the Sports Circus, and I am Brian Urlacher.
And welcome back to the Sports Circus. Again, I don't need to introduce myself. All you got to do is look at the Super Bowl trophies back there. But I do it anyways because I love saying it and I love doing it. Two-time Super Bowl champion, and can't forget the American Ninja Warrior. I was a finalist. Tyrone Poole here with my special guest of the day, two-sport champion, athlete. Man, this guy got so many things going on. His foundation, he's a staple here in the city of Atlanta. Two-sport athlete, Brian Jordan. Yes, Brian Jordan. Now, Brian, when we left, we were talking about great moments that you had in football. So when you're sitting around in that rocking chair, 125 years old, 200 years old, you're telling that story. So you told great stories about football. Now, before we leave, is there anything else that you want to share about football that viewers and listeners?
We were talking about Glanville, and I got to tell a story. You know how tough training camp is, how hard-nosed it is, and Glanville rewarded the guys who made the team by putting us on 2 buses and taking us to Fat Tuesdays. Imagine that. Bunch of football players around alcohol, and I tell you, man, that was his first year in Atlanta, and celebrating with the players at Fat Tuesdays was unforgettable, man. We had defensive linemen and linebackers, offensive linemen in Fat Tuesdays fighting. It was crazy, man. And we jumped on 2 buses to get back to the campus. And the back bus, the windows were knocked out. That's when I knew the culture in Atlanta was about to change, man. Because when you got a head coach that crazy and letting you have fun, and man, we gelled real quick, man, after that experience, and went on to change things around in Atlanta as far as Falcon football. Had to tell that story about Glanville. He was somebody that you'll never forget.
Yeah. I heard a lot of stories, and one story that I heard about Jerry Glanville, I'm pretty sure everyone has heard this same story. You probably know where I'm going with it. The ticket thing. He's always leaving tickets for Elvis, man. I'm wondering, did Elvis ever pick up those tickets? Did Elvis ever stop by and pick up those tickets to see a game? So
that was.
So did he ever tell you guys about Elvis?
Everybody remembered, man, was leaving the tickets for Elvis and the Men in Black, man. That's why he changed the uniforms to black, and he would always have his black long cowboy coat. I mean, it was so much fun as the season went on. I told him when we go to Dallas, and I'll never dress country, but I said, you know what, I'm gonna put on the Cowboys outfit, and I bought a long coat just like he had and cowboy hat. But, that's how the team gelled together, man. We were just having fun like that. And, that's why, Jerry did a great job in Atlanta, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, he did. He was a great coach. I like his energy. And again, we want to give an enormous welcome to all those watching us on YouTube, Facebook, AMP TV, Hotel TV, all of the 650,000 plus people watching, all those viewing in on the sportscircus.com. We're here with two-sport athlete, Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta Braves, started out with the St. Louis Cardinals, Brian the Great Jordan. Well, Brian, going into a little bit of baseball now. We talked about the great moments in football. You played baseball the longest, so I know you probably got a ton of stories, whether it's like sitting in the dugout, because I've never played baseball myself. I've never been inside a dugout, but I understand sports and competitiveness. But what are some of those great moments from your days of playing baseball that you want to share with us?
Wow, I have a lot of great moments in baseball. The fact that I had the opportunity to play in the St. Louis Cardinals organization. The history around that, from Stan Musial, having a chance to meet Stan Musial in person while he's playing the harmonica for the players, the Bob Gibsons, all the great Negro League players that came along, and then to go to Atlanta, the big reason why I went to Atlanta, to have an opportunity to meet Hank Aaron. And I remember my first year here in spring training, I sat next to him in the dugout down in Orlando, and that was a big thrill for me, man. I was nervous to even talk to him. I mean, that's how much I love the guy and how much he meant to me in my life. And, to be able to talk to him and see how humble and laid back he was a dream come true for me. And, it's a lot of history that I can sit here and talk about, making the 1999 All-Star game up in Boston, where you got your 2 rings, all the great players that came on the field before that game, Ted Williams being carted out on a golf cart. That was a huge thrill for me. I mean, forget about the All-Star game. I mean, just to be around all those great players and around that history. A lot of players, all we wanted to do was talk to those guys. We didn't even care about playing in the game after that. But and then to make the 99 All-Star game, like I said, to have that opportunity to get that close to being a world champion, yes, I would have loved to win it. But, I still got the thrill of feeling, how it feels to get that far. And, so I played 15 years of Major League Baseball, man. It was worth it. I would have loved to play a couple more years in the NFL. But, man, it was a great career in baseball.
Yeah. Now, I know my first game as a starter, I came in, of course, a first-round draft pick with the Carolina Panthers. In football, they kind of warm you up, kind of like let you get in there, like third down. I was a third down corner, kind of let me get in the field. Coming from Fort Valley State, which it was a big adjustment just coming from Fort Valley State to the NFL. But once I first started, I got the first start. It was against the Chicago Bears, and I gave up my first touchdown in my first start of a game. I gave it up to Curtis Conway, but he beat me on a tough route. It was an out and up. Now, he didn't just run by me, but it was an out and up. Now, my debut, I was nervous. I'm like, that night, when I began with the week. They told me that Monday, the secondary coach, George Katavlis, came to me after our third game and said, Tyrone, you're starting next Sunday. I'm like, I can still hear him saying it today. So I was very nervous. And during the game, before the kickoff, I was so nervous. I'm like, I probably could have, I don't know, not just passed out from just exhaustion. So your first debut as a baseball player, what was that like when you picked up that bat, you looked at the lineup, and you saw where you were hitting on the lineup, and you get your bat, you're watching, and then you step into that batter's box? Man, what was it like? And also, do you remember your first pitch? Do you know what the first pitch was? Did you swing? Did you not swing? Did you miss it? But tell us about the first debut.
Well, you know what? It was an unusual situation, man, because remember, I was coming off the football field, and I remember leaving spring training, and Ted Simmons, the general manager, was sending me down to Double-A, and we're having a conversation, not an argument, but a conversation back and forth. And I said, I'm not going back to Double-A, man. You got to send me to Triple-A. I've had my experience in Double-A. I figured it out. I'm good. And so we argued back and forth. So I leave spring training, and the last words he said to me was, if you start the season out with a terrible start in Triple-A, I'm sending you all the way back to A-ball. So I was like, I'm good with that, Ted. I will take that chance. Well, on my way from Orlando to Louisville, Kentucky, I stopped through Atlanta to see my family. And that night, before I was ready to drive up to Louisville, I get a call, and I thought somebody was playing a joke with me. I ended up hanging up on the GM because I thought somebody was playing a joke that, hey, you're going up to the big leagues. And he calls back, and he says, hey, Brian, this is Ted Simmons. You're coming to the St. Louis in the morning. We got you a flight. And I'm sitting there like, what? I'm trying not to go to Double-A. Now you're telling me I'm going to the big leagues. It was an unbelievable experience. So that morning I jump on the plane, go to St. Louis. And as soon as I got to the locker room, you can imagine Willie McGee, Ozzie Smith, and all the great players in history in St. Louis. Joe Torre was the manager. I walk in the locker room, I look at the lineup, and I'm in the starting lineup. Straight out of spring training. I mean, it's an unbelievable experience. I went 2 for 5 that night. I drove in like four runs, and that was my first game. I remember that first pitch. I was not going to swing. No chances would I swing at that first pitch. I wanted to see a couple pitches and just kind of gather myself that, hey, I'm in the big leagues right now. You know, in St. Louis, it's the greatest fans of all times in St. Louis baseball. And we can argue that with Boston's and the Yankees. But it was an incredible experience, man. But sometimes that's always the best way to do it when you're just thrown in the fire, you know, not knowing. And I didn't wake up for a week, man. I started out pretty good in my baseball career.
Wow, man. Well, that is awesome. I think every athlete, professional athlete, they always have that moment when you first start, when you make your first interception or you get your first hit, you score your first run. And I know right now I got my ball that I got my first interception, which was against the New York Jets when we played in Clemson our first year. And Bubby Brister, I don't even think people know anything or know who he is, but he did play quarterback. He started with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he actually was the quarterback with the New York Jets at that time. And he was the one that I got my first interception from. But you know what? We're going to come back and we're going to continue to have some more dialogue with the great two-sport Brian Jordan. Stay tuned for more Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
My favorite one had to do with the Green Bay Packers. And I love the fact that they dealt off Ty Montgomery because of a blown assignment. Green Bay isn't Green Bay unless they have a good running game. Then they can win 10 Super Bowls. The fact is, you don't have a running game. You've got 70% passing, and that's not where Aaron Rodgers needs to be. He needs to be in a position where he's got a running game to offset the passing game and so forth. I like the move. Green Bay didn't have a running game anyway, so all they're doing is saying, we're going to get rid of you because you don't follow instructions.
Well, he made one of the most boneheaded plays I've ever seen. There's 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock. They traded him on Tuesday.
They should have cut him on Sunday night.
He shouldn't have been on the plane back to Green Bay.
Right, they should have made him walk back to Green Bay.
No, it was a terrible play. Now, he's not a stupid guy. He went to Stanford. He's not a dumb guy.
He's not a dumb guy, but he doesn't follow instructions.
He made a terrible play.
The fact is he didn't follow instructions. And you say he's not a dumb guy. His own agenda he put ahead of his team.
I agree.
Thus, he is a dumb guy. Right or wrong?
Wrong. He just got selfish. You're not going to convince me that a guy from Stanford's a dum-dum.
No!
This is Sidney Justin from the Miracles.
So you heard yesterday's show at Roy Firestone. Did you hear a little clip about him going into the office where Smokey was at? And that was really good material, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really funny, man.
Yeah, and then you heard him.
It was hilarious. It was cool, though. It was cool. Really cool story, man. I enjoyed listening to that.
Right, and then he gave a couple of bars. Can you give us a couple of more from Ooh Baby Baby? And let's see if you could do it better than Roy Firestone. Come on, man!
All right, you know what? Why not? I did you wrong. My heart went out to play. But in the game, I lost you. What a price to pay. Hey, I'm crying. Ooh, baby, baby. How's that, man?
That's
Is that okay? Is that good enough?
That's incredible.
That's fantastic.
You know why? Because that's what you do. You're in the incredible business, Sid. That's awesome. Yes! Only on the Sports Circus. You're going to get sports. You get music.
this is Josie Scott from Josie Scott's Saliva, and you're listening to the Sports Circus with Sal Tuzzolino.
This is Tyrone Poole again with the Sports Circus. I want to thank everybody who's listening to us on Magic 97.9 Las Vegas, CBS in Honolulu, NBC, CNBC Financial, NBC Financial, CBS Sports, KCAA in Southern California, CBS Sports Corpus Christi, KSIX. Can't forget WDJY in Metro Atlanta, Greater Boston area. This entire segment from the start to the beginning to the end is brought to you by the Tyrone Poole 38 Foundation. The Tyrone Poole 38 Foundation believes in reforming, refilling, and restoring the activities in the family. We believe that if we correct the family, then we will correct a lot of the situations that we see going on in this world today. So if you want to learn more about the Tyrone Poole 38 Foundation, or you want to donate, just go to TyronePoole38Foundation.org. Again, that's TyronePoole38Foundation.org. Now, again, we have a great athlete with us today, a two-sport athlete, Brian Jordan. Brian Jordan played baseball, he played football. I think he's one of the tremendous athletes of this time. Now, Brian, baseball. We talked about football, your moments in football, your moments in baseball. Now we want to talk about current moments in the Major League Baseball. Now, Major League Baseball has set their schedule where they're going to start playing this year, starting, I think, July 23rd. So with this pandemic happening and everything going on, you've been a professional athlete for as many years, 14, 15 years, with this COVID-19. We're going to talk about the fans for a little bit here. A lot of people are saying that the game is going to miss the fans, and that's one of the most important elements of the game, which I believe. Now, comparing baseball and football, with the minimization of the fans' participation, which sport do you think would probably suffer the most if they're able to start back? Is it the minimizing of the fans in football or the minimizing of the fans in baseball?
Well, Tyrone, I think in that situation, I think both. I think all sports enjoy playing in front of fans. I mean, you want to hear the heartbeat of the fans. You want to do something great for the fans, and you want to celebrate that moment with the fans. And the fact that, in baseball right now, they're talking about no fans in the stands. It's going to be difficult for the players. I know what a lot of people say, it doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter. I mean, the fans really pump you up, man. And the players, we're like a family, of course, but, to hear that cheering, to egg you on, to me, that means more than anything. And that's football. The fact that I played football game, although we had those helmets and we could hide a little bit, but you enjoyed the screaming and yelling of the fans, because either way, if they're negative towards you, it's going to pump you up. And if they're positive for you, it's going to pump you up. So the fans will be missed, but to keep the game as safe as possible, I think that's going to be a sacrifice that the fans are going to have to make. And the players are going to have to understand. And, the TV networks will definitely have audiences watching the game, the restaurants and all that's still open at the time. They'll do some good business. But, as that player playing for fans, it's going to be missed. No question about it.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Brian. I definitely believe that the fans are going to be missed. But when it comes to like baseball and football, I've always said myself personally, I never really noticed that the fans were in the stands unless there was a blowout and we go sit on the bench, and then you have time to look around and you're pointing your fingers and you say, oh, look at that guy, look at those people over there. You know, when they put the camera and they go around the stadium and people get put on the big board, the big jumbo screen. But me as a player, I was so focused on what was going on the field that as a football player, like I said, I really didn't notice the fans until it was either a blowout or after the game, or should I say before the game, pre-game. They always gonna get your attention because you gotta walk through that tunnel and you walk out by the fans are leaning over, calling you all kinds of names, trying to get you off your game if you're playing away. But for football, I always just thought that the players, even the guys that were not starting, would be so focused on the field, because in football, you're only one play away. Now, baseball, I'm like, you have guys that you're sitting in the dugout. If you're on offense, you're sitting in the dugout and you're waiting for your time to come up to bat. Now, if you're the 8th hitter and they're on the 3rd hitter in the lineup, then there's a little bit of moment where you could get lost and your mind start wandering. Or sometimes if you're out there in the outfield, now you play in the outfield. So again, the host, Sal, who is the ringmaster of the Sports Circus, he's a baseball man, and we kind of would go back and forth with this. But I always just thought baseball would be tough without the fans, tougher, should I say, because you don't have any energy. Like you said, the fans do give the players energy. But again, you as an outfielder, you play in the outfield. I just want to ask this question again as well. Is it hard as an outfielder when there's no action going? Do you sit and like just watch the fans, or are you totally zeroed in from the first pitch to the ball hits the batter? Is there a moment where you're like, okay, it's kind of bored out here in right field, center field, left field?
No, as an outfielder and as a baseball player, I mean, you have so many open moments where you're waiting. That's the problem of the game right now. You got 4-hour games because there's too much time in between where you're changing pitchers. So you have all the time in the world to lose focus and to look into the stands, to find that pretty girl while the outfielders are gathered together and you're waiting for the pitching change. And all you got to do is look at the fans and everybody's screaming at you. And it's a lot of time to be distracted in the game of baseball. And, you got to know when you have that time and when you don't. When that pitcher's on that mound, you're focused on that hitter and you want to get the best jump possible if the ball is hit your way. Yeah, it could get really long when the ball has not come your way the whole game. There's no doubt about that. But, then you got that nagging fan out there that's screaming your name and screaming crazy stuff, which really pumps me up, man. I love when the fans get on my case because I go up to the bat and I'm going to make them pay for it. So, I get excited about that. But, fans, again, you can't hide on the baseball field, where on the football field, you got that helmet on, like you said. So you're really not even focusing or paying attention to the fans out there. So it's a huge difference as far as distraction, because, in football, your mind better be right. You better be focused on your assignments. You got to be focused on your reads. You got too much to focus on in football if you're on that field as a starter or special teams guy to be worrying about fans screaming and yelling.
Yeah. Now, still sticking with baseball, again, they're starting their season. Now, the commissioner had mandated that baseball players, they're going to come out there and play. But there are players who are opting not to go through the 2020 season. I'm going to name off a couple of here. We got from the Washington Nationals, Ryan Zimmerman. Pitcher Joe Ross, also from the Washington Nationals. Arizona Diamondbacks pitcher Mike Leake. Colorado outfielder Ian Desmond. These are just to name a few. They said they are opting out of the 2020 season. Most of them are saying for the health reasons of the COVID-19 coronavirus. Now, if you were playing today as a player, what would you do? Would you play, or would you follow suit as some of these players have done?
Well, it all depends on where you are in your career. I think guys who are more established, they can say, yes, I'm going to sit out. I don't want to take any chances, my family getting infected, being away from this tough time of Black Lives Matter. This is a tough time in the world right now. So, I'm not mad at those guys for opting out and making that decision based on their family situation. But you got a lot of young guys that they out there ready to play. They can't afford to make that decision because they're not at that point in their career. A lot of those guys that you mentioned, those guys are established. Those guys are over 30 years old. So they've been in the league. So they built their finances up so they can do that. But I wouldn't be surprised if other players do the same thing. This is a dangerous time. You really don't know what to believe anymore in this COVID-19. But as a player, too, I like what Doc Rivers said. And what he said was, this is an opportunity to have your voice. This is an opportunity to sacrifice for the country because we know that they need sports. And it's a shame that the players and the owners couldn't come together in agreement and have baseball started a little earlier. You would have loved to see that instead of it being mandated by the commissioner. But, baseball players have a job to do, but they have their right to make that decision. So I would say some other players will probably follow that suit also before it's all said and done.
Yeah, I know when I look back, just talking about a football player, I would say I would go out there and play. I think with the safety, understanding the safety precautions and just doing what I'm supposed to do. And as long as the league is making sure that our environment is healthy, it's the same as I'm going out my house. I try to make sure I wear my gloves, which in football, you're wearing your gloves. And I think everybody talks about the mask. Well, I think I could play with a mask because we do it sometimes when we're playing in the wintertime. We have that long stocking we put over our heads. True. But I think it can be done. I think the athletes can play, and I think they will play. I would play. So, you know what? We're going to come back with more Brian Jordan. Stay tuned for more Sports Circus.
Can't beat fun at the old ballpark, friends. High pop fly. That would be a home run in a phone booth. I don't know what the big deal about Cracker Jack is. Did you ever go and buy a pack of Cracker Jack thinking you're going to get a prize and find no prize in the box? Here's the pitch. That might not sound important to some people, but when you're a little kid, especially from humble origin, and they cheat you out of a prize. There's a bouncing ball. Second baseman has a Barbary over to first. It's hard to think in laudatory terms of the product.
I think if there was an occasional box of Cracker Jacks that found no prizes for the little Harry Carey many years ago.
You got that right. And boy, when a box of Cracker Jack to me meant a lot of money. Here's a pitch, bounce foul. That's the most asinine marketing I've ever heard of. 1 ball, 1 strike. These guys say, well, you sing about Cracker Jack. I said that I only sing it because it's in the song. Here's a pitch foul back. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised, even to this day, some youngsters who buy a box of Cracker Jack don't find a prize in the box. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Well, if you're going to talk about our congressman being crooked, here's a pitch foul out of play. Why not talk about commercial products that don't do what they represent to do?
They told me when they hired me it was a temporary job. Born and raised in St. Louis, and you can imagine the Cardinals were my favorite team from the day I could remember. And all of a sudden, the miracle of life, I'm broadcasting Card games. And I own the town and broadcast them for 25 years, and I thought they're going to give me a gold watch, and they gave me a pink slip. Then I went out to work for Charlie Finley for a year, and that's par for the course. Came to Chicago, and I was with the White Sox 11 years, and now with the Cubs. Never missed a game, never missed a time at bat, never missed a half inning that I was supposed to do. You know, Chicago is such a marvelous city. Hey, we got some Chicago people. You know, you never succeed in this business until you've had the experience of working with a terrible hangover. Not until you've been able to come through with flying colors under those circumstances can you consider yourself a professional. Lord knows I've had more than my share of anger.
There's a drive. Way back. It might be. It could be. And it is. Holy cow. This crowd is wild.
You're listening to the Sports Circus, and I'm Mike Golick.
Sports Circus, and this segment is sponsored by the Brian Jordan Foundation. If you want to know a little more about Brian Jordan and the foundation, you can go to brianjordanfoundation.com and you will learn all about what I do. But now I'm going to turn it back over to our host, Tyrone Poole.
Hey, Brian, thank you for that. Again, it's an honor to have you on, two-sport athlete. We also want to give an enormous welcome back to all those watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Amp TV, Hotel TV, the sportscircus.com. Also those listening on Magic 97.9 in Las Vegas, CBS in Honolulu, CBS Sports, KCAA Southern California, WDJY in Atlanta, and everyone in the greater Boston area, WBNW. Again, we're here with Two Sport. Man, I'm about to call you All-American, Captain America, Brian Jordan, football professionally, people. He played professionally football and baseball. How many people can say they did that? I can't say it, but I can say I got 2 Super Bowls. He played 2 professional sports, though. But Brian, again, honored to have you on the Brian Jordan Foundation. Tell us more about the program. Let's start with the Backpack Buddies. What is that about?
Well, it's something my foundation got together, and, because I write children's books, back to school to me is really important. And to make my mark on my foundation and get it in front of the kids, we donate backpacks and we fill them with a lot of different things, school supplies, healthy stuff, where they can take home, and, and with my books, my children's books, we provide that. So that's what that's all about. I started this foundation in 1998, man. My mom was an educator. So I watched their pour heart and soul into teaching kids with special needs and really driving it home for them and giving them hope. And that was important for me. I knew if I ever reached my dreams that I was going to start a foundation and give back. And it started out with scholarship programs. Last year, we gave out 26 scholarships to people that apply for those scholarships, kids that apply going into college. This year, because of the COVID-19, we were just giving out 10 scholarships, but we ended up giving out 13. But that's near and dear to my heart, education. And, as I went along each year, I wanted to do more. And I started writing children's books. So I have 4 children's books out. My most recent one is my first chapter book, and The Adventures of Champ Jr., The Mystery Behind Doggy Lane. I'm very proud of this book, and hopefully we'll turn it into a Disney movie soon. So, but I love giving back, man. I mean, it's our next generation. I was blessed, fortunate to play 2 professional sports, and I want, kids to have hope, man. And we got a long way to go, but through my foundation, we're able to help one at a time.
Oh, that's good, Brian. Man, you're doing a lot of great things. And, Brian also has a golf tournament, which you have a golf tournament that you do every year that's coming up. And I had the opportunity to play in his golf tournament. Great people, a lot of baseball players. I met Marquise Grissom for the first time. Oh, yeah. And, of course, a lot of athletes from the past and present. Of course, Greg Lord from Fort Valley State. He and I was there, Too Tall Jones. It's a lot of great people to show up and support this great foundation that Brian has going on. Now, Brian, when is that golf tournament? Is it coming up What are the dates?
This year, because of COVID-19, I decided to be smart. I don't want to take any chances with the unknown coming when this weather gets cooler again. So we postponed it until next year. We may try to find a smaller event to raise a little more money for the scholarships this year. But COVID-19, I think, shuts down a lot of things that people want to do in foundations. So it's affecting everything right now.
Okay. Now, what about the BJ Foundation, Brian Jordan Foundation Reading Challenge? Now, I know you got your books out, but what a little bit more about this reading challenge? What is it? What is it all about?
Well, I'm glad you asked about that because that's huge. That's near and dear to my heart again. And for me, Tyrone, I was that kid that had no confidence in reading. But if you would have challenged me in anything, I would have stepped up to the challenge, and I'm going to beat you down, at the end of the day. And I wish I would have had somebody to challenge me in reading so that I could have gained my confidence a lot earlier than I did. So what I did was, since I write children's books, and literacy is such, if you look at schools today, they need help really bad. And so Douglas County, I adopted Douglas County, all 20 schools, and I work with all third graders this year because, as you learn more about literacy, you learn about what the world is about. They're building jails based on third grade reading, and it's scary. So that's why I picked third grade this year with Douglas County, and so I challenged these kids to read, and I incentivize it to where the top readers and the most improved readers get to go on a trip with Brian Jordan. I got Fox involved. They gave me the bus so that I could take these kids on trips. The winning class at each school, I would come and play kickball with them. And you watch these kids' reading levels go sky high. And
that's good.
All we have to do is want to help and want to challenge those kids, because there's some good kids out there that, don't have it at home. But if you challenge them in something, that they'll step up to the challenge. And we saw the reading levels go way up in Douglas County. So I want to challenge all the schools around the world. I want to start a lot younger than third grade, because third grade is the line where everyone is judged. So we got to get these kids reading a lot earlier and challenge them a lot earlier. So that's my mission right now. Like I said, I've written 4 children's books. I enjoy it. The schools do a great job of raising money and I go and raise money to make sure these books are in the kids' hands when they can take it home and read at their own level. That's what at their own pace. That's what I tell kids. I used to use the finger and go one word at a time, and I would read that same book over and over until my reading got better. And that's what I try to get those kids to understand and learn and take those books home and do it in their privacy, just one word at a time. And so it's working, and I'm looking forward to another year, a tough year. We're going to have to do it mostly virtually, but we'll get it done and encourage these kids to continue to read.
That's good, man. And like you said, that one finger, one moment, one read at a time, one word at a time, it just made me think about the playbook, which reading is like a playbook. You study one play at a time, and the similarities of the play, the principles of the play are the same. So it's like reading. The words are the same. The pronunciations are pretty much the same. There's a foundation, reading left to right. But definitely what you're doing is tremendously, I honor it. And also, as you say, the world, well, guess what? A lot of people are hearing this show coast to coast, from Honolulu all the way up to Boston, here in Atlanta. Everybody's going to hear it. It's going to see it. So, man, I'm like, support Brian Jordan and everything that he's doing. He's doing a wonderful thing. Now, let's talk about this Play It for Health. Play It for Health. Now, what is that about, man? I'm like, you got so many things going on in this foundation, bro. I'm like, man, do you even have time to breathe, brother?
Well, you know what, Tyler?
Play it for health.
I watch you, man, and it's about our kids being healthy. It's about our kids working out, training, not sitting at home and doing nothing but eating and laying around playing these computer games. It's about getting kids to be active. So, that's what it's about. Eating the right foods. Nutrition is so important. And we got to start these kids off young, understanding how important nutrition is. And so that's Player for Health. I mean, that's what that's about.
Yeah. Now, you say you've written 4 books. Now, I Told You I Could Play. Was that your first book?
That was my first book, yes. I Told You I Could Play. Overcoming the Fear of the Baseball was my second book. So many little toddlers, when they start out, they get hit with that ball, it hurts, and they give up on the sport. Well, I got hit in the face when I was young, and my dad just kept encouraging me to get back out there. Thank God he did, to go on and play 15 years of Major League Baseball. And then my third book is Time Out for Bullies. My mom taught me everything about bullying because some of her kids, special needs kids, used to get bullied all the time. And so I learned about bullying, and I would protect those who were getting bullied and become their friend. And I always encourage kids, if you see it happening, go up to that person and become their friend. And you could change their life forever. And then, of course, my first chapter book, Adventures of Champ Jr., The Mystery Behind Doggy Lane, is, I'm excited about that. I'm going to start writing more chapter books. And that's just the first part of a series. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, now it's funny you talk about getting hit with that ball. Now, my son Tyson, he played a lot of sports. He ran track, played football, played baseball. So to teach him how to catch that pop-up, because that's the one that a lot of kids would really drop because they see that ball coming down and the first thing they want to do is move away from it. So what I did with him, and I don't know if these are some tips that you probably did or whatever the case may be, but I started him with a tennis ball. I would throw the tennis ball up. Of course, the tennis ball wasn't heavy enough to stay in the glove, but if it did hit him on top of the head, like boing, it wouldn't hurt that bad. So I would teach him how to catch the ball, a pop-up, and then I gradually went to the baseball. I would throw it up, not as high as the tennis ball, but throw it up a little bit, just let him get the feel for it. And then eventually teaching him how to put the glove over his nose and bam, just got that ball in. So were there any little things you did as far as baseball as a youth that if the ball hit you, you had to overcome that fear?
Well, you know what, the best thing to do, and I learned this, I learned it as a kid, but, when you hear from one of the greatest shortstops of all time, Ozzie Smith, he used to just throw the ball off the wall. That's how you teach a kid. Throw it off the wall, put a glove on their hand, and then try to catch it. And they keep doing it until all of a sudden it becomes easy for them, and then you move on to the pop-ups, like you said, though, with a softer ball, a wiffle ball first, and then that tennis ball, and then they graduate to the hard ball because it becomes easy for them. So you did the right thing with starting out with that tennis ball. But, for the younger kids, you start out with the wiffle ball and just work on hand-eye coordination. And it becomes easy for them once they start getting a little older. But that throw the ball on the wall is probably the easiest way to go to teach kids how to play baseball.
Yeah. Again, Brian, go ahead and tell everybody again how they can get in touch with you with the foundation, also follow you on social media.
Yes, you can go to BrianJordanFoundation.com about my foundation. About my books, though, you can go to twosportman.com. And then as far as Instagram, the official Brian Jordan 33, Facebook is Brian Jordan, and then my Twitter is 2sportman. So follow me, keep up with me. I'm doing a lot of good things out there.
Well, you guys heard it. Again, we want to thank the great two-sport athlete, Brian Jordan, for coming on to the Sports Circus. Man, I love you. I appreciate what you're doing. Blessing to your foundation. So until next time, another Sports Circus segment. We'll see everybody next time for another exciting Sports Circus. All right, Brian. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Anytime, buddy.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.